Now 20 minutes to 8 o'clock. In case you're joining us now, we do have the State of the Nation, and today we are looking at corruption. And in case you're joining us now, quick reintroduction of the guests that we have. We have Philip Magal, Michael Agwanda, and Kevin Osido. But before I come back to the panel, just a quick reminder of that question. What role can you play to ensure that we fight corruption in the country? What role can you play to fight corruption? And your answers are coming in fast and furious. We do have Jimmy Gakio, who says it is a culture that, or rather, he says that it is a culture to respect your elders. I do respect corruption as it is older than myself. It's a culture too, as it never goes away. I can only contribute by choosing and voting leaders and not politicians. Of course, that's the question. Do we have leaders or just politicians? We are actually opening up the phone lines because we'd like to hear from you what you have to say. And the number is now being displayed on your screen as I read a few more of these and listening to what some of our leaders have had to say. David Ochieng says, so long as a name is mentioned to be involved in corruption, let him go to jail to create future example to other corrupt people. Let me read one more before I let you hear what our leaders had to say in regards to corruption. We have Marie Martinderi, who says no role. And I guess this is an answer to the question. No role. In fact, it should be added on the list of big five as a goal number 5. Na pia iwekwe kama subject shule za Kenya. We are tired about all the bra na zile tuangamize ufisadi. All right, so basically your comments are still coming through, and well, the comments that had come through from our leaders, we do have the president on record basically having mentioned this, and also the opposition leader Raila Odinga. Let's listen into what they had to say. All right, and I am told those sound bites are possibly we'll see whether we can play them. If not, not to worry. The phone lines are now open. Do let us know if you'd like to contribute. Maybe you have a comment that you'd like to make. But let me come to the panel, and I'll start with you, Michael Agwanda. The question here being the buck has to stop somewhere. We use examples like Singapore, and we know that they have taken a very radical look to corruption, but it seems to have worked. However, that must have started somewhere. Where does the buck stop when it comes to Kenya?
The three things I want to say. One is corruption will continue thriving in this country if and when we continue having commissions build documents and they're not implemented. Case in point, TJRC. If we cannot go back to TJRC and look at the scenes of men and women that have led this country and say sorry to the people that have been affected, that have been stolen from for years and generations.
But the president has apologized.
It's not going to work. Well, apologies and implementing some policies that are radical and can help the people are two different things. We need to apologize, but we also need to put some wheels in action. That's one. Number two that we need to look into in this country is our electoral system. Mike, the reason why I say our electoral system plays a bigger role into stamping out corruption in this country is we can decide to bribe our voters to vote for thieves and looters of this country. And remember, when we voted for them because they brought money on the table and then they went to Parliament and Senate, they will make laws that will favor their actions. They will continue enacting laws that will only enrich themselves because they know some of them are already thieves already. So our electoral system is very, very key. Chapter 6 of the Constitution talks about issues that we need to look into. How one should not be elected or even present his name to the ballot box. The question is it being implemented by IEBC or not? It is not. In fact, if anything to go by, when you look at IEBC, some names were even put in the computer for IEBC and removed. So you're having a thief there in the name of IEBC, some of them, and then you want them to officiate this election that should be super pure, and then you have people that cannot even present their academic certificates, going there with forged papers. They have no capacity to know, and they see people being bribed and, you know, getting into offices, and they are there. And so if we do not change the way we present our people to the electoral boxes so that they can be elected as leaders of this country, but on the virtue of how much money they've given us, we will never get anywhere. Thirdly, as I conclude on this, when we have cops that a commander of a police officer cannot be arrested by a corporal because, you know, he's so senior to me, I cannot arrest him. In other countries, what happens is this: even if you're a corporal, a junior police officer, and your boss is doing something that is against the law, and you know it is against the law, and it is written there that it is against the law, you don't have to wait for a command to arrest this man. You simply arrest him and let him now get himself out of court. Once you've arrested him, you present him to court. As long as we still have these commands that, you know, you can't arrest this politician because he's too powerful, or ESCC is the one that has to investigate on it, or DPP, or DCI, or even the local police is the one who has to do this, we will never be able to handle corruption in this country.
Okay.
What we need to know is the buck stops with the president. When you have leaders that have been mentioned in corruption being elected into offices, and not just being elected into offices, holding key positions in parliament and in the Senate, I am telling you, we are going nowhere. When you have the president himself says, I know some of them are even here amongst us, you know, that means they have the information. Honorable William, I think his name is...
William Kamket.
And you know, the MP for Theatre just said the other day that don't go for this PSs and these small people. This guy knows the big thief. He knows who the big thief is. I don't know who that big thief is. But you can see that in other countries, any information is very, very key to leading to stamping out corruption. When we have information and we can't even deliver it because some people are too powerful that we can't mention their names, we will never get anywhere with corruption.
All right, Philip, I think a number of things have been mentioned here by Michael, and part of it, or if we put an overarching envelope over it, it's leadership. Because we have Chapter 6 of the Constitution talking about leadership and integrity. And that's the same thing that you're quoting to mean that when we have an electoral process that is flawed in many ways, you have people who are, you know, questionable integrity, then we already are putting leaders who, again, are questionable. Where do we tackle this from? Yes, the president, I guess maybe to hear from you, where does the buck stop? He says it's the president. Where do you think the buck stops?
To me, there are two extremes to it, yeah? On the one end is the voter out there, the common man out there in the street. You know, it is... I'll blame the citizen on the streets, because you will find that most of the time it is the citizen who rushes to that policeman with 50 bob. You know, the man knows he's not done anything wrong, but before you pass a traffic check, you have a 50 shilling ready in your arms. You know, go to police recruitment when the recruitment exercise is taking people. I know of families who, you know, go there with 300, 500,000 ready to bribe whoever it is. You know, they don't know whether, in fact, a bribe is needed, but they're there ready to go and bribe to have their sons and daughters.
Allow me to interrupt here. I want to pick a call from a member of parliament from Seme, Dr. Nyikal. And maybe just to get your comments, Dr. Nyikal, your comments or question or maybe contribution to the topic.
This is something that really we have to look at. I agree with the issues about the corrupt electoral system, bribing voters, giving voters money. On the other hand, the voters expecting money before they vote you. But the question I want to put to that panel and ask them, I've many times said, can we bring capital punishment to people who are involved on what I call the economic crimes, corrupt of economic crimes that disrupt the economy, kill people? Can these people be executed? This is something whenever I say it, people think, say I'm eccentric, I'm mad. And also recovery, ruthless recovery of assets, traced even up to your children and your family. We need serious action. Capital punishment, recovery of assets, ruthless. Can they discuss that? Let me hear, because I think we are paying lip service to corruption.
And before letting you go, Dr. Nyikal, you're a legislator. What are you doing to ensure that we get rid of this corruption? Yes, you've mentioned and you've asked the panel, but are you willing to take that up, that challenge?
Let me tell you, the member, I think, is the senator for Muranga now, Honorable Kangata. We discussed with this. I actually said this, took it up, and he actually brought an amendment that was actually going to bring capital punishment. It didn't see the light of day. People just laughed. So what you are saying is that corruption has been so deeply ingrained, it has become like our ethos. We have to do something that wakes people up. And I just once again say, can we try capital punishment, ruthless recovery of assets, wherever they may be?
All right, thank you, Dr.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nyikal, Member of Parliament for Seme there. And Kevin, do we need a radical move like capital punishment? And like he says, I mean, one of the other things is that many of the people who loot probably mask their wealth with their children or is not traceable to them directly. So what needs to be done? Capital punishment, should we consider that?
And we have laws that are actually, and I'm glad that Mheshimiwa is making this call, because I also know that he knows that initially in the first part of this discussion, we spoke about Kenya having some of the best laws to be able to deal with these issues. But why are we not doing that? Even, Economic Crimes Act, we have all these things. We have, the President just ascended to a bill yesterday, which is supposed to also safeguard some of these communication issues. And all these laws are there, Mike. The question is, why are we not enforcing them? Why are we not seeing people being arrested, and their assets being recovered? And why are these corruption cases taking too long? Because just yesterday but one, we were talking about these two very senior public officials who have now been charged, and the case has been there for almost 6 years. Why must it be like this? And that is why, in my view, we really need to not only strengthen and enhance, but also ensure that the laws that are supposed to do certain things actually do those things that they're supposed to be doing. We have people trafficking, monies into this country and cleansing them by putting up serious buildings and, all these facilities that we are seeing around. These are things that, and I agree with Mheshimiwa, that they are reaping, from the citizens, and ultimately it is us who will be able to pay back through taxes. And these taxes, therefore, should not be stolen from the citizens who really sweat every day. People waking up from 2 o'clock and sleeping up for only 1 hour, 30 minutes, to be able to sweat it out of their sweat, to be able to put food on their tables, and someone is dead somewhere who is also being paid a lot of, hefty amounts of monies, and nothing and then ultimately they steal from the same people and nothing is being done. So in my view, I agree with the speakers who say the buck stops with the president, but can we also see action being taken? The president, and I think he's been very categorical, mnataka nifanye nini? Akaita mpaka Solicitor General, akamuliza boss, shida iko wapi? Akaita mpaka EACC, bwana halake wako, shida iko wapi? Because he is referring to these people because these are people who are charged with certain responsibilities. And again, Mike, I think the good book says to whom much is given, much is required. Kama kazi ni ngumu sana, step aside, allow other people who feel that they have the mettle, who can be able to take it up. People who are not scared about being threatened by some crazy SMSs, we will come for your head, we will kidnap your last born child. Those are things that happen, but can we be able to have people who feel that this country is greater than the individuals who steal, and that they are able to, meet it up with the people who steal from us, all these cartels, and people who just feel that they can steal and go scot-free? Because Kenya is not a banana republic. We must not aim towards making it a banana republic. Okay. This country is ours, and it is greater than any single man or woman.
Philip, I'll need your closing comments, and also the question, are we really willing to get rid of corruption, or do we just keep talking about it? Yet, bottom line is that we really don't want to get rid of it.
First, I would like to, first of all, join hands with with Dr. Nyikal, who called in. Yeah? He says that we should have assets confiscated and forfeited to state. And in fact, we do have a very good law on that, which was borrowed from the UK. That is the Anti-Money Laundering and Proceeds of Crime Act, which gives our courts the power, like in the case whereby they convicted 3 individuals the other day and found them culpable of stealing 283 million. The court has always had the power to ask them, to ask the state to confiscate the properties of those individuals and their non-associates to the last person on that particular chain. Very good provision which we don't see being enforced. Secondly, there's the issue, I would like to put the spotlight on the judiciary. We know very well that the people have been defending the judiciary. They have been saying that, probably proper evidence is not being presented before the court. But remember, we do have the anti-corruption division of the judiciary here at Milimani courts. How comes then that cases take 6 years to complete? Why is it that cases cannot be heard on a day-to-day basis? And I would like to challenge the media houses too. We should have the cameras in there so that we can see what the prosecution is doing, so that we can see what kind of, the public can get to know what kind of evidence is being presented and whether they do agree with it. And if there is any other witness out there who would like to come give his take on the whole issue. Lastly, of course, you've asked a very important question, and that is whether Kenyans are really willing to fight corruption or not, which is where I left off the last time I was speaking, which is, of course, the buck stops with each and every Kenyan. We have to vote in responsible leaders. We should not vote people on the basis of their wealth. We should not vote people because we've been bribed. Because if the vote has been bribed, then the whole system is rotten. And again, at the top, the buck stops with the president. The man has to stamp his foot.
All right.
Yeah.
Michael Agwanda, your closing comments, briefly.
I hate corruption. And I hate it because it does not just eat into our resources as a country, as a nation, but it portrays us very negatively. I think now we are rated, 19th corrupt country in the world by the latest statistics. That is not very good for a country that is growing, a country that has great natural resources. That is not good for a country that depends so much into foreign income that comes for in terms of our tourism in this country. That is not good when you see guns being held by cops in uniform in every corner of the street, and some of them even running around our politicians, in big guns, and alleging to be protecting those very individuals. That some of them are known and in the public domain that they got their money, in fictitious way. I know that we have anti-money laundry bill in this country, but I tell you what, I don't know about you, but I travel quite a bit in this country, and there've been an upsurge of petrol stations in every corner of a place, even in places you'll never think of. And I've been trying to figure out, why are we having so many petrol stations? And then I don't know whether it's true or not, but somebody told me that's the best way to wash stolen money. Because when you have it in a petrol station, you can bank that money every day. And because you have a petrol station, nobody cares about it. Money laundering is killing this country. And sometimes we wonder when other economies and US and UK and Europe are going down. And we're wondering, why isn't our economy going down? Because lots of money has been stashed somewhere and is just being released in bit by bit. And so our cash trend is, seem to be normal, operating normally. We are affecting the future of our children, great-grandchildren. And so what is the selfishness? The question I want to ask everybody is, why do we need 100 or 200 billion in your account stolen from the public coffer, when you know very well that the day you die, you'll just be in that 6 feet thing and put you in a box, and that's it.
And you don't go
and
with
then
that money
you leave
anywhere.
everything else, and all this everything else will be sold by your children and put into drugs because you acquired it illegally. It will affect your generation.
Well,
and your children.
maybe they leave not knowing that one day they will go 6 feet under. Kevin, Kevin, I need 30 seconds with your closing comments. Very strict 30 seconds, please.
Just two things, Mike. One is to break down the Constitution in a manner that the citizens can be able to understand it, so that the Article 10, Chapter 6 of the Constitution is broken down to schools. We understand what patriotism is, what respect to the rule of law is, those really principles of governance and leadership within our Constitution. Then the last thing is it possible that this discussion around conducting a lifestyle audit can actually then be implemented? Because we are seeing people are just being elected 2 years into office and they already have magnificent houses out there. Where are they getting this money from? Can we be able to have people going there to ask very, good questions that can be answered in an effective manner, a manner that then puts fears, allays off the fears of people out there who feel that our money is being stolen and people are using it to build petrol stations or to put up houses.
Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That is Kevin Osido, who's from Governance Watch, Michael Agwanda, who's a governance expert, and Philip Magao, who's an advocate. Thank you for joining us on the State of the Nation this morning.